Good evening, I'm Hugh Downs.
And I'm Barbara Walters, and this is 2020.
From ABC News, around the world and into your home, the stories that touch your life with Hugh Downs and Barbara Walters. This is 2020. Politicians on the take. Hidden cameras caught them behind closed doors. They could be bought, and this man was buying.
I made it perfectly clear to every person I sat with that Tony was buying votes and influence, and if you were for sale, come and see me.
With his gift for gab, officials were hooked. The money was in the thousands.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I usually got those people like, on your TV. No, you're on candid camera. No, there's 50. Hold on a second.
Tom Jarrow with the anatomy of an undercover investigation. Bribes, lies, and videotape.
But first, lawmakers caught in the act of selling their votes. They didn't know there was a hidden camera in the room and that the man with the cash was an undercover agent. A Tom Jarrow report. Bribes, lies, and videotape.
2020, brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
What do you think? Would your local lawmaker take a bribe? Would he or she sell his soul? Would a wad of cash be enough to get a key vote in the legislature? Well, in a moment, you'll meet some elected officials who did sell out. What they didn't know is that they were being videotaped. And you hate to hear about this kind of thing because it's more than wrong, it's evil. Because it undermines public trust in the thousands of dedicated, honest, and well-meaning office holders. Tom Jarrow first brought us this story last summer, and out in Arizona, they're still talking about it.
Arizona, deserts and mountains in a land where time almost appears to stand still. This is the youngest state in the lower 48 and one of the fastest growing. The population here has quadrupled since World War II. It's a place where progress coexists with tradition and where things are not always as they seem. The dome of the state capitol is shiny and proud, sheathed in copper dug from Arizona's mines and hammered into shape by local craftsmen. But the people of the state are still coming to grips with the deep political tarnish beneath that dome. It wasn't bad enough that a governor was impeached in this chamber 3 years ago, or that both of the state's senators were members of the so-called Keating Five. Now the scandal is right here in the Arizona legislature. The state's motto is God enriches, but for some of Arizona's legislators, that wasn't enough.
100 hundreds is 10,000.
8 legislators were caught up in a videotape bribery sting that wrecked careers, ruined reputations, and revealed the raw ugliness of greed, all in living color. This is freshman state representative Sue Levy.
Lost count.
Any tacky fingers?
This is 3-term representative Bobby Raymond.
Understand where I'm coming from. I don't give a about issues. There is not an issue in this world that I give about.
Okay.
I do deals.
Right. That's what I
do deals.
I'm doing one.
Bobby Raymond's latest deal is with a prosecutor. He's pleaded guilty to 5 felonies, each documented on tape.
So you got a camera in here taping all this?
13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
I usually got those people like, on your TV.
25. No, you're on candid camera. No, there's 50. Hold on a second.
This was not a sting run by the FBI or another high-powered federal agency. It was put together, designed and run on a first-time basis by a local police department and a brand-new county prosecutor.
This is bribery. I mean, it's bribery. There is
Richard Romley is the prosecutor for Maricopa County, which includes Phoenix. A Vietnam veteran whose legs were shattered by an enemy landmine, he ran for office on a clean government platform. But he says he was shocked when a routine gambling investigation turned up evidence that lawmakers' votes were for sale.
You know, this state, Arizona, did not need this type of publicity again. And you know it's going to create some problems, but you just don't stand for it. And that's my job, and you go forward.
I just drew upon every wise guy resource that I
had used in my actual life.
This man was the key to the investigation, the bait and the trap all in one.
I'd been to prison. Now here I was working for the county attorney as an agent consultant.
Joe Stedino, a three-time loser with a winning smile. He agreed to talk to 2020 with his lawyer present. Stedino is a convicted felon who had been recommended to local authorities by the FBI after a successful federal sting operation in Nevada. That sting netted $10.5 million in drug money. In Arizona, the issue was whether to legalize casino gambling. Word was out that some legislators might be willing to sell votes on the issue. To find out, prosecutors had Stedino create a role. He became a gangster known as Tony Vincent.
I was as mafioso Tony as you could get. Word spread that Tony Vincent was in town and had a ton of money, and if you wanted to commit your vote and your influence to Tony, why, just go see Tony and talk to him.
And talk to him they did. Here's Carolyn Walker, Majority Whip of the Arizona Senate.
10,000 would give me out of financial difficulties.
Is that your comfort level?
Actually, I'd really rather have 15, but 10 would get me out of difficulties.
You want 10 or 15?
I like 15.
That'll straighten you out.
That'll straighten me out.
And you're committed to me. I have your support.
I was committed to you regardless.
Are you committed to me?
I said I was committed to you regardless.
Are you committed to me?
Yes, I am.
Do I have your support?
You do indeed.
Carolyn Walker is on tape accepting a total of $25,880.
I am an ambitious woman. Okay.
She's under indictment for 9 felonies.
At least I want to lose back rich.
Her attorney says these tapes don't tell the whole story.
She denies emphatically that she committed any crime. She took the money. She needed that to pay off debts. She took the money because he gave it to her, and it was a gift to her. But she did not sell her vote.
Was enough money shown to her with her background that she would have been impressed by it, persuaded by it, as far as this is a substantial amount of money?
No question about that. They gave this fellow Stedino thousands and thousands of dollars, and he would take out a wad of bills, I think, that would even make your eyes open up, Tom.
You know, they say that because you have put so much money in front of them, they couldn't resist it.
Right.
That's a lousy argument. That's a lousy argument. I don't care what should be brought before you. You should not sit there and sell your vote for a special interest group.
The money never came out till they asked for it. And Tom, God forgive me for telling the truth, but I was just surprised I didn't have to put a revolving door on the office to allow easier access. I even said on one tape to someone, I said, if this continues, I'm going to have to put a revolving door on the office with a teller window.
One by one, like flies to a spider's web, legislators were lured here to an ordinary-looking office building across town from the state capitol. Up there in Suite 340, they got the Joe Stedino alias Tony Vincent treatment. What do you need? What do you want? What can I do for you? How much will it take?
Slip back for a moment into the role of Tony Vincent.
Yo.
Put me in the role of Tom Legislator coming in. Tell me how you would talk to me for a second about legalized gambling, and you want my support.
Okay. Well, Tom, I guess you've talked with my lobbyist, and you understand what we're trying to do here. The idea here is that we want to get casinos in the state of Arizona. Now, my associates and I, we've got our eye on 7 locations. We want to put 3 in Phoenix, 1 in Tucson, 1 in Sedona. If I spend $10 million and just get 1 joint open in Yuma, I'll be tickled to death. If it costs me $100 million, I don't care, because I'll make my money back the first year. Do you understand? Yeah. That's what we're all about.
Every persuasive word of the sting and every incriminating action went on tape.
2040. Do we have to count this? Can't we just take your word for it? Well, there's 55,000.
The local authorities bought an arsenal of electronic equipment to document their case. The cameras were easily hidden.
That's good. Perfect.
The lens opening on this camera is tiny. Joe Hollenbeck watches over this equipment for the Phoenix Police Department.
Where is the audio? It's from a wire worn by your informant?
Not necessarily. You can have almost the same situation. The microphone can be concealed anywhere and
carpeting in the roof or anywhere.
So when someone comes into a room and says, is there a camera here? With today's technology, it's virtually impossible to say there's not if you want to hide one, isn't it?
That's correct.
Put it in your clothing, put it in a bag, put it in a potted plant, put it in your shoe. You could put it in your, they're wearing them now in football helmets.
Right.
There's no end to where the little peeping eye can be.
That's true.
True, even in this hotel room. In a meeting with 3 of his targets, Tony decides to show them they're safe, that he's not wearing a wire.
I don't have any trouble getting naked. I'm proud of my body.
The microphone is actually hidden in the furniture.
I consistently was the wise guy, and I stayed the same. I was consistently a tainted. Tony was a guy that would step outside the law. There was no mistake about it. In fact, one of the newspaper articles that came out of California stated that Stedino's performance was equal to a De Niro or Pacino. I liked that article. 8 people walked. 8 legislators beat it out the door. See, that's an interesting thing that no one has talked about. So there's 8 that took the money and 8 that didn't. It's kind of a push.
So not everyone went for it?
No, sir.
This man didn't go for it. In fact, he went to the law instead. Jack Jewett is a member of the House from Tucson.
I first laid eyes on the now infamous Tony Vincent here at the restaurant.
The 2 of them had lunch with one of Jewett's colleagues.
Jack? Tony? This is Tony Vincent?
How do you do, Jack? Pleased to meet you. What really tipped me that something is fundamentally wrong here was at the end of the luncheon when he flashed wads of $100 bills.
Did he make a cash offer to you in the restaurant?
He did not make an offer, but I took my concerns the next morning via phone call to then Attorney General Bob Corbin.
I wish I'd never met Tony Vincent. I wish I would have walked that money back into his office. And I wish I would have walked right back down to the Attorney General's office and turned them in.
Instead, Sue Laby went to jail. She accepted over $24,000 in a series of meetings with Tony that started innocently enough.
She accepted a legal contribution of $220. And Tony would have bet the store that Sue Laby would not be back. And within approximately 90 days, Sue Laby reached out for Tony and asked for $10,000 and offered to not only vote yes for legalized gaming, but to co-sponsor the bill.
The trap is sprung, but this investigation still troubles Rick Romilly. In a reflective moment at his home late one night, we talked about that.
The definite impression that I got out of being with this case for so long, it was kind of a way of doing business for some of these. It was sort of an attitude. Sometimes I even wondered if they knew what they were doing was wrong.
Who were the victims of that case?
All of us. All of us. Really, the entire community. Not just in the direct ways that we can see through the passage of laws, but that breach of faith. And that's incalculable.
Should people be shocked or surprised by this exchange of money, or is this the way of doing business, and does it still go on today in the legislature of Arizona?
I think it still goes on, but it probably doesn't go on with the cash. There was a reference made in the tapes about that we were unsophisticated whores. I think the sophisticated ones are still out there doing it. One of the typical lines down there is, it's all right to do it. If you get caught, you put the Twinkies back.
Put the Twinkies back.
Put the Twinkies back.
And watch out for hidden cameras.
Absolutely.
What's happened since this whole...
Barbara, all 8 are out of the legislature. 7 of the 8 have pled guilty. Only Carolyn Walker plans to go to trial and contest in court.
Well, I gather she says that she was going to support Tony Vincent anyway, therefore she's not responsible?
Right. That's her claim, as to justify why she took the money. In fact, of all of these people, they felt they weren't really doing anything all that illegal. They thought it was sort of like business as usual for legislators to take this money, until they saw themselves on videotape, and that's when they realized...
They said, gee, maybe.
Yeah.
Otherwise, politics as usual,
yeah.
huh? Sweet story. Thanks, Tom.
Right.
Boy.